Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Gordy. It's a new semester and time to start up again with our weekly recordings, Your Balkan Week, on events in and around the Balkans. These are videos that I am recording primarily for students in my classes and seminars on the Balkans at University College London, but anybody is welcome to listen. Generally, we will be trying to do these toward the end of the week. I expect most of them will be recorded on a Friday or a Saturday. Today's a Thursday, early in the season, so we'll go a little bit early. What I want to talk about today is an event in Belgrade that a part of it is going on, a part of it has been canceled, and we'll see whether it stays canceled. And that is the Europride Festival and March, a festival dedicated to LGBT rights and equality. This is a festival that Belgrade is hosting this year, the first time that it is being hosted by a country in the region. Um, they they received the invitation to host it as a result of an open competition. So, like with the Olympics and the World Cup, cities compete to be host of Europride, and Belgrade won that competition in 2019. The main focus is on the march that is supposed to take place this coming Saturday in 2 days and has been cancelled. But there are other events that go on, conference events for the press, a cultural festival with performances, culminating in the march on Saturday, and um, that is the event that is an object of contention. And the main purpose and the reason why it's important that it's happening in Belgrade, that it's happening in Southeast Europe, is that this is a set of events that is supposed to mark the visibility of a community that is usually excluded from visibility and the normalizing of a community that is often an object of discrimination. I should say, however, though, that the ability to hold a march has become a recurrent issue of contention in Belgrade and in Serbia and other countries in the region too. This is not necessarily the main concern over most members of the LGBT community in the country. Most people, if you ask them what is important to them, they will tell you that they're interested in more concrete concerns. They're interested in protection from violence. They're interested in protection from discrimination, especially in work. The reason that it's become an issue of contention is because the holding of the march was prevented by violence in several instances, the first time most notably in 2001, and disrupted by violence in others, most notably in 2010. So this is what brings it to the fore. And what's happened in the meantime is that the ability to hold the march has become a marker of the position of the government at one time or another toward equal rights and toward the rights of minority groups. And it's become one of the interests of some international actors, especially the European Union, but also including the United States and the United Kingdom, who seek to assure that marches like this can be held in Serbia as a signal of the Serbian government's commitment to equal rights and equal protection of minorities. So these are the interests of the advocates of the march and the people trying to organize it. There is a description of this video in the text below that includes a link to their site where you can see more information and some other information about other actors we're talking about here. Now, what about the opposition to the march? Now, the opposition to the march is led by a couple of groups. One of them is the main religious organization in Serbia, that is the Serbian Orthodox Church. And the Serbian Orthodox Church has been described by a lot of observers as a political church, one that affirms its claim to be the representative of the national identity by association with a number of political movements that place questions of national identity at the center, and these groups tend to be on the political right and associated with right-wing movements in places like the United States and Russia and some other parts of the world. And the church is trying to make political capital out of its opposition to equality for LGBT people. One of the things that it's done to demonstrate its opposition is it has introduced a prayer. I've got a link below this video to the text of that prayer, in which God is thanked for maintaining a distinction between genders and for families and children and so on. Where families and children come in, this is another part of the coalition, because as much as the cultural right wing claims to be interested in sovereignty, it's part of an international network of right wing groups that dates back to the period of the Second World War. And they will talk about things like family values is one of the terms that they use. Tradition is another one of the terms. Um, this slogan, tradition, family, and property, was the name of a quasi-religious group that supported military regimes in South America in the 1960s and 1970s and onward. They get their name from the slogan, the motto of the collaborationist government in France, the Vichy government during the Second World War period. If you look at the coins from the Vichy period, they include the motto of the Vichy government, which was tradition, family, and fatherland, or patriotism, if you prefer. One of the key organizing ideas around this opposition is the idea that equal rights for sexual minorities is a foreign imposition, something that is brought in from Western Europe, from the Americas, and that it runs counter to the values of the region. So this is when they organized their march of opposition to the march that's supposed to be held on Saturday last week. This is the main idea that it was organized around. Now, what is the government doing? And you might wonder, why is the government active in this question of who can hold a march or not at all? The reason is that the issue of equality for gender minority groups has become one of those issues in which the government shows which way it is inclined between its two main impulses. And its two main impulses are to show its inclination to and consistency with the values of the West, so that eventually it will achieve its goal of membership in the European Union, and playing to the cultural right wing nationalist groups and groups associated with the international right and neo-fascist right, that it encourages in the name of encouraging a perception of national distinction. So they move both ways along that axis. And this is a case where, by allowing the groups on the right to present a large-scale organized threat, they have given themselves an excuse to cancel the march, show themselves as being on that side. And there we have to ask the question, is this something they're doing strategically in order to prepare the ground for making another corresponding move on the other side, by making concessions to Kosovo, for example? We don't know this, and we don't know whether the attitude of the government is a victory or a defeat. We also don't know what will happen between now and Saturday, and on Saturday. There is the possibility for the decision to be appealed. It might be, it might not be. We don't know what will be decided. There's a possibility that the march will be allowed. There's a possibility that the march could go on, even if it is not allowed. There is a possibility of violence. I don't feel comfortable making a prediction here. I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. We are not endowed with supernatural powers and able to predict the future. But what I can say is that these are events worth watching, because whether you're interested in the particular issues around equality that are involved or not, they show you which way the general attitude of the regime toward the population and internationally is heading. So pay attention, and we'll talk to you next week.